God's unconventional. Well, we're here studying God's Word, and the Lord's had us in Joshua, and we've gone through Joshua chapter 1 and chapter 2 and chapter 3, actually. Joshua chapter 1 verse 3, every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon I have given you, as I said to Moses. It's a promise of God that over and over it's reiterated in chapter 1, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and of good courage. Meditate on my word. Be strong and of good courage. Go in and take the land. So Moses has died, and Joshua's been given the mandate to take the children of Israel into Canaan. Well, they had these battles going on, and we were talking about standing still in chapter 4 and going across the Jordan River and their plight to get across the Jordan, and how they did that, and how the Lord did miracles and signs and wonders in their presence. Continually He did signs and wonders in their presence, even though they ignored it most of the time. Hard-headed, hard-hearted people. Chapter 5 of Joshua says, so it was when all the kings of the Amorites who were on the west side of the Jordan, and all the kings of the Canaanites who were by the sea, heard that the Lord had dried up the waters of the Jordan from before the children of Israel until we had crossed over, that their heart melted, and there was no spirit in them any longer because of the children of Israel. At that time the Lord said to Joshua, make flint knives for yourselves and circumcise the sons of Israel again the second time. So Joshua made flint knives for himself and circumcised the sons of Israel at the hill of the foreskins. And the generation that died in the wilderness, the next generation had not been circumcised, for the people who had come out of the wilderness on the way as they came out of Egypt had not been circumcised. Verse 6, for the children of Israel walked 40 years, 1 year for every day, with the bad report. Remember in Numbers 13 and Numbers 14, we went over that last time, how the bad report brought death, actually, and there in Numbers 14, you can look at it at the end of the chapter, the first 10 people to die of the plague in the wilderness, starting the 40 years, 1 year for every day that the leaders of the tribes had gone in to scout out the new land. All 10 of those were that brought the bad report were the first to die. So you have to watch out with your mouth and your lips before the Lord. And I think Joshua and Caleb really learned a lesson that they were going to be careful for the rest of their lives what they said, even though they were the ones with the right attitude. For the children of Israel, verse 6 of Joshua chapter 5, walked 40 years in the wilderness till all the people who were men of war who came out of Egypt were consumed. Why? Because, it says here, they did not obey the voice of the Lord. So what was the price for disobedience? The price for disobedience was death to the older generation, and they never did see the promised land. Only Joshua and Caleb. It says there Caleb had to wait 40 years, and he was 45 when he spied out the land, so he was 85 when he finally got his inheritance. Must have been pretty excited when he finally got his inheritance. So it was when they had finished circumcising all the people, verse 8, that they stayed in their places in the camp till they were healed. Then the Lord said to Joshua, this day I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you. Therefore the name of the place is called Gilgal to this day. And Gilgal essentially means roll away. And over here in, I've got Proverbs 16 verse 3 is a good illustration of Galal, which is what this word means. Proverbs 16 verse 3 says, commit your works to the Lord and your thoughts will be established. Commit is Galal. It means to roll away In Genesis 29:3, Galal refers to rolling the stone from the well's mouth. Jacob rolled the stone from the well's mouth there in Genesis 29. In Joshua 5:19, the reproach of Egypt is rolled away from Israel. In this text, the reader is encouraged to roll his works onto God's care. The picture is of a camel burdened with a heavy load. When the load is to be removed, the camel kneels down, tilts far to one side, and the load rolls off. In other words, it's a perfect illustration. I like that illustration of the camel kneeling down with a heavy load, dropping the load off onto the Lord. So that's the visual picture here. The Lord said to Joshua, "This day I've rolled away the reproach of Egypt, and therefore the name of this place shall be called Gilgal to this day." And the children of Israel camped there, and they ate of the produce of the land after the Passover, unleavened bread and parched grain on the very same day. I like verse 12 of chapter 5. Then the manna ceased on the day after they had eaten the produce of the land. So they'd gone 40 years with manna, 6 days, and on the 6th day you double gathering so you don't have to work on the 7th day. Manna in the Hebrew means what is it, because they had no idea. They just saw this white stuff all over the ground. And I like that interpretation, the meaning of the word manna. What is it? Honestly, 40 years, can you imagine eating that? And the children of Israel no longer had manna, because it ceased on the day after they'd eaten the produce of the land. But they ate the food of the land of Canaan that year, because God is going to provide for his people. It says down here in the helps, a manna miracle had been provided 6 days a week for 40 years. I just shared that. Upon entering the land, God's promise of provision would take on a new form. While God would still be their provider, they would learn personal responsibility from working the land and eating from it. And that continues to this day. You know, you work to provide for your family, and first of all, you work, number one, so that you can have something to give. I like Ephesians 4:28, the purpose of work. While we're talking about that, let's look at that scripture. I haven't looked at that in a while. Ephesians 4, somewhere here, verse 28. Let him who stole steal no longer, but rather let him labor, working with his hands what is good, that he may